Hi and welcome back to the Event Lighting channel. It's been a while since my last video. I have other things to do once in a while. I have been working on a course on the Invert.learning.com, the website, where we build our own GrandMA3 start show. I have been doing festivals, touring, all kinds of different gigs around, primarily Denmark and Sweden. But now it's time to kind of look at some GrandMA3 tutorials again. And GrandMA3 released the new software 2.3 a while ago. I've been playing around with it for a while, and I think I want to go through some of the cool new features in the new software. So let's have a look at it, because there's some huge changes which can be very helpful, and there's also some minor changes which also can be extremely helpful when you are building your own stuff, but we'll get into that later. So let's begin. So the first thing we're going to look at is the new assigned menu. They completely reworked the assign menu, so let's go in and have a look at it. You can see I have here fixture 1. You can click it here or you can click it here. It is the equivalent of just pressing a button somewhere on the console, and it's going to open up the settings for a executor, sequence, whatever you have there. So let's click this one, and you can see we have these new handle settings. We still have the old object, the handle, new. We have the settings for the sequence, and we can edit the sequence itself with cues and recipes and stuff like that. So that's not new. But inside here, handle, we have some new options. You can see they have reworked everything. First of all, you can, when you click something, you can see all the options you have for this button or this fader over here. So this will change depending on what you click. So in this case, I have now clicked the button. You can see all the different options. If I want to change the button functionality from a Go Plus, in this case, to a Go Minus, I can just select it over here, and you can see it changes up here. I can also go into the master or the fader in this case, and I can select any other setting I want here. If I want it to be a crossfade, a temp, a speed, a rate, something, I can go in and change that as well. And you can see we can now expand these sequences or these executors the way we want to. We can utilize the buttons we want inside the same sequence, so it reacts to the same stuff as we want. We can now expand this down, which wasn't an option earlier, so now we just expanded it down to the row 100, and we got an extra button we can use. So we could have a Go Plus here, and we could have a Go Minus here, for instance. We can also drag it all the way up here if we want to, and that is very easy. We can expand it sideways as well, and this is some of the new stuff we have in the new software. If I expand it up like this, you can see I get some new options. I can set my rotary encoders. I can play with these custom commands. We'll get into that in a second. But if you look at here, we have our rotary knob up here. Right now it's set to master. We can set it to temp if we want to. We can also go in and say if we rotate to the left, we can click it here. And in the old software we had to know what to put in here. Now we have a list like we have on any other button, so we can say if I rotate this way to the left, it's just going to skip without timing. If I rotate the other way, it's going to skip without timing as well. Or maybe I just want to set this back to master, and you can see it automatically removed these as well, because it cannot do the same things on the same time, or do different things on the same time in the same time. So that is another addition. You can see here I have this off sequence 1 through. This is a custom command. So if we put in a custom command, it's going to delete whatever is on the button. So here, if we do it again and we say off sequence 1 through, now this button will, instead of being a go button, it's going to be a custom command which is going to turn off any sequence on the console. So if I go in here, you can see I have something running, and I could basically put this one up as well. You can see I have 2 effects running, and this, by the way, is the start show we are working on the eventlearning.com channel. We have built everything from scratch there. It's a course you can take, so go in and check it out on eventlearning.com. Now we define this button up here to be a off button, or sorry, this button here. So if I expand this row here, so we have an extra row, you can see I now have this button, and you can see it is also, if I do like this, it's defined as an off sequence 1 through, because we just put in a custom command. So if I click this one, it's going to turn off any sequence in the console. So you can put in anything you want. It's just an option. You can also use macros as you used to do. You can also use quick keys and other stuff. But now you can also put in any custom command, so it might be easier just to do that. The next thing we can change is the resolution of some of these rotary knobs here. You can see this one is set to 100%. If I go in here, I can go in and select my rotary knob here, and I can set the step size. Right now it's to 1%, so every time I click it, it's going to be 1% up and down. If I use it as a master, I can set the step size to 2%. I can set the step size to 0.5%. I can do whatever I want here. So this is actually quite cool as well. If you find yourself not being precise enough, you can simply change the resolution of the encoder. You can also invert it so it goes the other way, and that is also some of the new additions in the GrandMA3 software. The next thing we're going to look at is the way we can store this information we just did. Right now we have this one set as a master. We have this one set as off sequence 1 through. Let's just change the master here to rotate one way and the other way so they are different. You can see we have a go minus here. Let's change that back to go plus. So we have a go plus, we have a master, we have off sequence 1 through, and we can rotate this one way or the other. So let's say we have to build a lot of faders with exactly this functionality. Instead of building it again and again and again, we can store this information. So let's go up to executor configuration up here. Let's say new configuration. We can right click and make a new one, and we can call it test config like this, and we can save the information in here. So now if I close this one and I press this guy here, you can see this is defined in a different way. So I can now go up to my sequence here. I can say test config and I can say load. And now if I expand this up here, you can see this has now the same settings as the other one. This is not new. I think we could do that before. It just looked a little bit different in the 2.2 software. But now this is kind of an integrated part of the new assign menu as well as the other stuff. There's also a new addition. So if I unexpand this again and I close this, you can see I have a sequence somewhere. If I go back to 2 here, I have this guy here. If I press go, you can see when I click it, it turns everything on. When I click it again, it turns everything off. If I click it fast, it's just going to go through. So basically when I go into it, if I go into edit, you can see I have as recipe turning everything on at 100%, and I have a delay from x at 0 and a delay 2x at 0.3, and they are identical in these two queues here. So every time I click it, it's going to go in and it's going to go out. A new addition in the new software is you can define what happens when you click a button, and you can also define what happens when you release the button again. So if we go into our Go Plus button here, you can see I have a button press and a button release. So if I click this one and I also set this one to Go Plus, now it's going to go when I press it and it's going to go when I release it. So close this one down and I can say go. I'm pressing and holding it right now. When I release, it's going to go out. So if I give it a quick click, you can see depending on how long you click it, that's the width of the effect going through. I think for many busking shows, timecode shows, this will be really helpful to use as well. So put in a button release command and it's going to do the same thing. And also, if we go into the release command here, you can use a custom command as well. So there's many new options in the new GrandMA3 software 2.3. So this was the assign menu. Another new addition to the new software is the message center, and it gives us some new options. You can see this small icon down here. We can click it and we can define what kind of, when do we need to be alerted about something. Let's say we have MANet here, and you can see this bell here. We can actually change this from red to nothing to white, and this has different implications on when are you going to get notified. If you are getting notified on your console that a station has disappeared or has gone off the network, has gone offline, in the new message center we get this pop-up up here, and inside the message center here we can actually define what we want to be alerted about, what do we want to get notified about, and you can do that by changing all these settings down here. Let's say we have a power problem, we can get a warning, error, alerts, when we define when do we want to see these alerts. So that's another cool thing. Another thing you can see down here, I have some small icons here. If I go in and I turn on my highlight, you can see a highlight icon actually appears. If I turn solo on, another one appears. If I turn blind on, another one appears. And this one, I think if you have been programming long enough, you have been in a situation where you try to do something and nothing happens because blind is on. I certainly did that many times. I don't know if you did, but leave a comment down below if you ever had that problem. So that's another thing here. If you say, we can say park, we can say fixture 1, and you can see we now have the park symbol down here, which is also very useful, I think, so you can see what you actually did. So let's unpark it again. Let's say unpark fixture 1, and you can see it now disappears. So that's another cool addition, and if you go into the release notes, I can show them to you here. We have all these new icons here, so you can see what's going on. If you are in a world will appear. If you are not in the default world, if you're not in world 1, you will actually have a world down here as well. So let's just double check how this works. If I select world number 2, you can see I now get a world icon down here just to inform me that if there's something weird, if fixtures are not responding the way I think they should, this could be why. And if I go back to world number 1, you can see it disappears again, and if I turn off my highlight, it disappears again. So go into the release notes and have a look at the different icons so you can see what is what and what should you be watching. So if you are building your own stuff and you are using these macros all the time to assign appearances, to go queues, to do all kinds of different stuff, you know you can use the macro handle. And if you don't know what it is, I'm just going to show you because this is really valuable. Let me create a new macro here. Let's go in and edit it, and we can say go sequence 24, I think. Like this, and I can create a sequence called 24 here. So now if I click this one, you can see it goes sequence 24. Let's create another step here, and we can say off sequence 24. You can see now I can turn it off and I can turn it off again. But if you look at it, it's just go sequence 24. If I close this and I move this here, now of course it doesn't work anymore. You can see it creates an error because there's no sequence 24. So let's move this back to 24, and you can see it will work again. That's fine. But if I go in and edit and I say go sequence 24, I can go in and edit this. We can automatically create a handle. If I click this one and I say please, it's automatically going to say sequence 24, but you can see this hashtag and these two brackets which is inside, which means it now knows what object it is. I can do the same for the next one here, for the off sequence 24. It looks a little bit different now, but I can click it as sequence 24, but if I move sequence 24 here, it still works. And that is because it's a handle. And when we did all this Start Show stuff on the Create Your Own Start Show course on eventlearning.com, we have written everything on an old software, so we did all these macro handles by ourselves. We did them manually, but now the console will actually help you create them if you wanted to. And one other cool thing is you can see it's now called sequence 25. It changed it, and if I go in and I relabel this to test sequence like this, you can see it's called test sequence #2 because I already had a test sequence. If I go into my macro, you can see it actually changed the name as well. So not only will it hold on to the object, but if you move the object or if you change the name of the object, it's going to track it and it's going to redo the macro itself, which means that you can do all your stuff. And if you want to clean up, move your appearances somewhere else, move your sequences somewhere else to get like a better order or more clarity over what you've done, you segment stuff in a different way. You don't have to think about losing the references to your macros. So this seems like a small change, but it is a huge help building your own stuff on a GrandMA3 console. Another cool addition to GrandMA3's new software 2.3 is the way you can use masks in your sequences and in your tracking and in your sequence sheets, so you can basically see what's going on or better sort out what you want to see in your fixture sheet. So if I take this screen here, my screen number 2, you can see I have a parked fixture here. If I go into my MA button up here, I go into mask buttons and I can add a mask toolbar. So if I want to see what's in my programmer, I can click this one. If I only want to see my selection, I can click this one. Or I can go in and define myself what I want to see. Let's go into my mask buttons here, and you can see these 2 buttons here are represented up here, number 1 and number 2. I can define mask 3 button here, and I can go into my filters and I can say maybe I only want to see my dimmers, my position. I can select a dimmer for this one. I can select a parked for this one. So now if I only want to see dimmer, you can see it clears away everything else. I can open this up again. Maybe if I only want to see a parked fixture, now I parked a fixture group, but that's the same thing. That's a new option. I think especially for theater programmers, this is going to be very valuable. So you can basically have this sheet open, and based on what you want to do, maybe you only want to see dimmers, you can see all the dimmers from your fixtures. And everything else has gone away if you're looking for something specific. So I think this is also a very easy way of implementing filters in your programming. You don't need new views, you don't need 3 or 4 or 5 different views for sorting stuff out. You can simply just use all these filtering options or the masking options inside your fixture sheet. Another cool addition to GrandMA3 2.3 is the new way you can sync your faces to each other. If you look here, I have 2 faces running from our color faces. I started them at not the same time, so they are actually not following each other. They are the same speed. They can be used on different fixtures. You can see I can select which fixture type I want to have part of my phaser here. If I take this one out, you can see nothing is happening, and I can put it back in again. And this is also something we have done on the eventlearning.com website. So you can see now they are out of sync, but they're running in the same speed. I can now resync them to each other, or I can fast sync them to each other. Resync will do it gradually, so it's not so obvious, and fast sync will do it as soon as the console can do it, as fast as it can. So let's see if we can use a custom command here just for the fun of it. We can go in here and we can use custom command and define a button, and let's say resync, and we can say sequence 1 through, which is everything. So we say please resync sequence 1 through, and you can see they are still out of sync. And if I click this button, I just need to show it here. You can see I have my resync custom command here. When I click it, you can see now they actually follow each other. And that was resync. It did it gradually, but if you used fast sync, it's going to do it right away. So another cool addition to the new software, and I think especially, again, if you're using the console for busking and creating your own busking shows and stuff like that, this is really, really cool. You can use that in a cool way. Another small change, if you go into your MATricks here and you say edit, you can now swap phases, you can swap speed, you can swap delay, and you can swap fade on X, Y, and Z. If you are running delay from 0 to 1 second or something, you can swap it the other way around. Fairly simple. You can use macros to do that as well. So that's another cool addition to GrandMA3's new software 2.3. Another addition to GrandMA3 2.3 software is you can now globally change your preset colors for your preset pools. So if we create a new window here, I can go in and define my dimmers, and you can see my dimmer come up here with the normal color. I can go in and manually change it if I want to, but now I can also do it globally in the color scheme itself. If I go into desk lights here and color scheme, I can go in and edit our default view here, and I can say my dimmer, for instance, I can change that to, I don't know, some kind of yellowish color here. I can take my positions and change it to a green. I can take my gobos and change that to a blue, for instance. So let's just do these ones. If I close this one now, this should be part of my default setup. So if I go into my dimmer now, I can reset the color, and now it will take the color scheme from the default I made, the new default. I can open up here the next one, and you can see the colors in here for my position. I can do the same for gobo, and so on. So somebody likes to have different colors. I rarely use it, but I might now. I think it's pretty cool that you can easily distinguish between what is a dimmer value, what is a position value, what is a gobo, and use these colors to navigate around easily. So that is another addition to GrandMA3 2.3 software. Another thing we can do is to start using the executor style, a new thing that's been added also to the new GrandMA3 software 2.3. If you go up here, you can see all my sequences in my sequence pool. If I click this menu up here, I can say executor style, and you can see now they look just like the action buttons almost we had on GrandMA2, and this is just part of it. We can also take a sequence and we can assign it into a layout, as we have been doing so many times. If we take this one and say assign, we can put it in here. Now we can go into setup, we can edit it a little bit, maybe make it 100 high. We can right click on it and go in and hide the appearance. And now it looks like this, kind of boring. If we go into the layout, we can go into edit and we can click this one here called executor style. We can close it down, and now you can see this is basically our entire sequence here, and I can I can go into my setup here, I can right click it, I can define, do I need it to be go, do I need it to be go minus, do I need to top it, do I need to do whatever with it. So basically you can now assign this one, and it's going to be much more clear what's happening, which queue you're in, and stuff like that. So I think this is also quite a new cool addition to it. So if you are having sequences with many queues for positions or color or something like that, you can simply just assign it here. You can go into setup, you can make it wider, you can make it taller, and you can basically do whatever you want with it and just go it directly. So that's another cool addition to GrandMA3's new software 2.3. Another fantastic addition, I think, is a new functionality within recipes, and especially recipe presets. If you build a preset containing recipes, you can now use something called from value, which I think is really, really cool and really useful if you are touring and seeing the same, basically the same preset, the same all preset again and again. If you begin your song and end your song with the same state on stage, you don't have to rebuild it or redo everything. You can simply put it into an all preset and call it up very, very easily. Let me show you. First of all, if we go into a preset, we go into settings, we can basically turn this into a recipe. Let's take selection something, and we put in a dimmer. We can put the dimmer at full. We can take the same one here and we can make it fan out. We can copy this one and give it a color of, I don't know, red maybe. So now this is fixture type 1 in my show here. We can do the same thing for another fixture type. Let's take fixture type 2. Do the same thing, maybe change the color to blue, maybe give it a different position, maybe up cross or something like this. Now we have two fixture types. We turn them on, we select the position, and we select a color, and it's an all preset. So now we can go in and we can create a new sequence. We can say store sequence something here, So what we can do now is basically just select a from value. We can go into selection here, we can say from value, and if we point this to a preset, it's going to activate whatever is inside that preset. And in my case, I put it in my all preset, I think it was 131, somewhere down here. If I click this one, you can see now it points to whatever we just built, and we can see this is blue and red, it fans out and it turns it on 100%. So if I say go to this sequence here, you can see it now did everything we put into it. So now if I change anything here, I can say edit settings, I can say I want to add a fixture type, this should be fixture type number 3, and we can say instead of up cross we can say straight, and we can say that it should be white. And you can see now it just appears there, even though we didn't do anything to the preset, we didn't do any selection in the recipes. So the from value, if you think about it, can be used for many things, especially if you repeat using the same preset, or if you want to change something later, you can always do that and make sure that everything will still be visible in your sequence afterwards. So that is another fantastic addition to software version 2.3 on GrandMA3.